back once again to the Foxfire Farmhouse. We are glad you've stumbled back in out of the cold, winter, dreary, rainy weather into this warm, cozy farmhouse.
The coziest.
Pour some coffee, pull up a chair, hang out with us. This is the Foxfire Farmhouse podcast. Welcome once again to our podcast. We're glad that you guys have shown up and that you're here again to talk with us or hear us talk about storytelling with digital media with an emphasis on movies. A special fun emphasis on movies today.
Yeah.
We're going to have a good time.
It's going to be great.
We're going to do something new.
We're going to try it out.
We're going to see how well this goes.
My bet, very well.
I hope so. Whether
Hopefully.
or not it goes well, we are going to have fun. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah.
Here at the Foxfire Farmhouse, because we have a super secret VIP meeting that we have to attend here in a little while in the upstairs loft room.
Yes.
Where the ideas are exchanged and brilliance overflows.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, But before we get there, let's talk some movie news. So what do you think about Batman?
Oh, goodness. I have been the Batman apologist this whole time around the water cooler at work and just everywhere that I can be.
Do you have to defend Batman?
I do.
You found yourself defending the Batman.
Yes, the Batman must be defended because of their actor choice, primarily. Because of good old Twilight Sparkles is in it, playing Batman. And a lot of people aren't excited about that.
How do you feel about that? What's your thought?
I've seen him in other things, and I thought that he's done well since. Like he was in The King. He was the Dauphin.
That's true. Yep.
The bad guy. Played a good bad guy.
He did play a great bad guy in there.
And so I think that he could have the chops for it. But after like the third trailer, they finally have like let him talk more than "I am vengeance." And he's like, "You got a lot of cats." And he just says like these really weird little one-liners, and you're like, that doesn't sound like Batman. And so it's kind of scaring me a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm still going to stand behind it.
Describing it that way, I love the visual style of the trailers so far. It's, I believe, it's DP'd by Greg Fraser, and he's one of my like favorite up-and-coming DPs. I think he also did Rogue One, or Rogue One, I believe.
The Star Wars one?
Yeah. Maybe, but I'm trying to think if maybe it was Solo. I can pull it up here.
Either way, I like both of them.
But he's a really great DP with a lot of interesting credits to his name. He's starting to get some really cool movies under his belt.
Sweet.
And so he's a really interesting guy. So I love the visual style of the Batman.
Indeed, I do too.
Trailers. But then it almost, like what you're saying, some of the lines that come out are more reminiscent of like Batman and Robin, or that
him
make
and
you afraid.
Catwoman. Their interplay just seems a little weird, and I think it might be the downfall of the film. But who knows? I think that the saving grace will be the villain, as it always is in a Batman movie.
Maybe.
So the Riddler, they got a great guy playing Riddler. I don't remember his name, but he's been a good supporting actor in a lot of other films, like There Will Be Blood, and he was in what was that one movie with the Cowboys and Aliens? He was in that one.
Oh,
he
really?
did a pretty good job playing the Weasel son of Harrison Ford.
That's right. I forgot about that.
He's in just in a lot of other things. He's in a Beach Boys movie. But yeah, he's a quirky actor, but I think he'll fit the mold for a Riddler.
Okay, so Greg Fraser did Dune.
Ooh.
So he's the one who did Dune. He did Rogue One, Zero Dark 30. He was a co-producer on The Mandalorian, did a lot of the cinematography for Mandalorian. So he's had some really interesting work and done a lot with... that
was the best part of Zero Dark 30.
Yeah.
That was a boring movie.
I have not watched it.
Don't watch it.
Okay.
You can watch it on silent, maybe.
He did Lion. Have you ever watched that?
No, I haven't.
That was a really good one.
Dev Patel.
Yeah. So he's done a lot of really interesting stuff. He does if we get into more geeky, nerdy stuff, he does a lot with the LED volumes. So that's what like Mandalorian did a lot of filming with, which just means instead of doing green screen and then putting stuff in later, they have the big screen that wraps around and they film it and it looks like they're on set, but they're not. And the camera coordinates with the screen. And it's just really interesting technology that is doing some cool stuff. So anyway, so we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Batman.
I'm hoping, but my hopes slowly being diminished, and my need to defend has gone down.
And that is our movie news for this episode.
Cool things.
So what have you been finding that is cool recently? What have you been enjoying?
Oh, goodness. Well, I think I'll go with the Tragedy of Macbeth for this one. Oh,
An Apple original.
It's
starring
so good.
Denzel Washington, Frances McDormand.
Yep.
Yeah.
Although her last name is Cohen.
I've discovered that
yeah.
in reading the American Cinematographer thing. I did not realize that.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, she's like...
For those who don't know, Joel Cohen is the one who directed the film and is married to Frances McDormand, apparently.
Yeah. His brother, Ethan. Together they make the Coen brothers.
They are the infamous Coen brothers of the Oh Brother Where Art Thou, Fame, Fargo, Barton Fink,
True Grit.
such like that. True Grit, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hail Caesar.
Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
I love that
So,
one.
yep. Great. Yeah. And so he makes this film. This is one of the first ones. I think it's the first one I've seen, at least, that he's made by himself.
Yeah.
But man, it was interesting. Okay, so just visually, you've got to think it's black and white, 4:3 framing. So it's not your standard CinemaScope framing. It's very minimal. The set design is extremely minimal.
Yep.
Very
costume
reminiscent.
design even.
Yeah, very reminiscent of like stage and theater.
Like the old school ones from like the 40s with Charlie Chaplin and some of the people that were like on his level.
Yeah. That's very true. Yeah.
It was pretty cool. Laurence Olivier was the guy who I was thinking of. He did a lot of Shakespeare back in the 40s and 50s.
Okay. So one question I had that I'd be interested to hear from you is I have never, to confess, never read or seen Macbeth in any version.
Oh my goodness.
Before I saw the Tragedy of Macbeth. So I've heard the story in like I've read a few books on screenwriting, things like that, and they will reference that as an example, and they'll walk through the story beats. So I knew what the beats were that were coming.
Yeah.
Is the film dialogue a 1-to-1
No.
read? How does that compare to the actual story, to the actual written word?
So I need to go back and like reread it because that was something that I was confused with because there's some parts that I don't remember being in the play. And there's some parts that obviously were omitted because it's an hour and 40 minutes or so. And usually it's like a 3-hour play. Okay. So it's a longer play. So they cut out quite a bit, but and they mashed characters together. The one character, I forgot what his name is, but the one with like the really cool arm shirt that walks around, like he's like a monk looking guy.
He's kind of an arbiter of a lot of different
I don't believe he's in the play, the original play. And so
really? Okay.
what's really interesting is they kind of play with the fact that there's like the witches are like one person in this one, but like talking to herself, like almost like possessed by like a demon.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. But yeah, so as far as a lot of the dialogue, it's straight from Shakespeare, or it sounds really, really close to Shakespeare. Like, it's almost word for word, except parts of it.
Okay. That's cool. Because I found myself having to pay attention so much more because of that. And in some ways, it rewarded the attention. It was great.
Yeah. And a lot of times what I appreciated was like Denzel Washington. Like, I thought his Macbeth was really well done because you actually understood what he was saying because of the acting around it. Whereas some of the more seasoned Shakespeare actors sound like they're reading Shakespeare, and so they don't have like the acting to go with it. But he did a great job, and a lot of the other actors, as well as like Macduff, did a great job. It's the most tasteful version of the killing of Macduff's family that I've seen.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, usually it's pretty
violent.
Scarring and violent. But this one was it still was terrible, but not as bad as other versions.
Yeah.
Like I think Mel Gibson did one, Glenn Close, which was pretty good. But yeah, I just loved it. Just a feast for the guys in terms of cinematography and sound design. Was pretty on point. I liked it.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it a lot too.
Must watch if you're reading Shakespeare for school or whatever. Yeah. Or just want to watch
or if you
really
just want,
cool movie.
A really interesting adaptation of the thing.
Just the whole witch part was honestly, I think she should get some form of award just because, like, not just for the convulsion kind of things that she was doing, but the fact that she was playing 3 witches and as one person, and it was she did a great job.
She was really, really good.
I'd only ever seen her as like the old lady from Harry Potter, like the 5th one. And she's
Yes,
like, you
with the
have to
like
come
little
inside,
yeah.
Potter.
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
Yeah, apparently she's a seasoned stage actress.
Yeah, apparently, because
So,
she had a lot of credits to her name in terms of stage play stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty cool.
good movie.
This was nothing like the tragedy of Macbeth, but over the Christmas holiday, I watched King Arthur: The Legend of the Sword, directed by Guy Ritchie, and it was a lot of fun.
It's such a good movie.
Not. I don't know. Like I don't know what I think in terms of like, was it a good movie?
I think it was.
But it was really enjoyable.
Yeah.
Because it's so if you have never watched anything by Guy Ritchie, so Guy Ritchie is the one who did the Sherlock Holmes. He did Man from U.N.C.L.E. Those are the two kind of
open
three
ones.
movies that were more broad and I guess
did like, I don't know, least more unaccessible for most people. It's like Snatch and recently the Gentleman and other films like that.
So he's and what I'm coming to see is like some of his style coming through. He's just got a very unique style that then is just imprinted on every film that he does.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting to see his style taken back to like Sherlock Holmes, right? Like 1850s London or like that's a fun time.
Such a good series.
And then you've got Man from U.N.C.L.E., which is more like Cold War era spy thriller. And that was fun. But then throwing it back into the medieval ages, where kind of a modern or a
mythic telling of
right,
Arthur.
Like a mythic telling. I mean, King Arthur's always kind of ends up being mythologized, but this was mythologized with the style of a modern filmmaker, and it was just a good time. It was a fun trip of a movie. So go watch it, enjoy it, have a good time. So
Jude Law did a great job in that movie.
He did.
Shout out for a good villain. I'm a sucker for a good villain.
And good villains always drive people forward better. So it was good. Great. Go check those movies out. Tragedy of Macbeth, Legend of the Sword.
Won't be disappointed. Both involve swords and sword fights. Actually, Macbeth had a pretty good sword fight.
He did.
Yeah.
That was
anyway,
pretty sweet.
Surprise for a stage
Denzel
play.
Washington with a sword, man.
We need more of that.
We do.
I think he had one in Book of Eli. Didn't he have like a samurai sword?
I thought it was an axe.
It was an axe.
Did he have an axe?
I haven't actually seen that movie.
Me either.
Well, we don't know. Well, something that we need to watch. Homework. Anyway.
Don't ask us what he wielded in this movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, we're going to move on to the subject of the day.
Let's do it.
And now, our feature presentation.
So today we're going to do something really new, really interesting. We're just excited to do it.
We're just a bunch of big old nerds.
I hope you're excited to listen to it.
Yeah.
But we are going to take a Bible story and we are going to cast that story. Maybe crew it up a little bit too.
Definitely get it a director. Yeah.
Find some people to run
maybe a DOP.
these things.
We'll see.
So, Roger Deakins.
Yeah, I know. That's immediately. And Roger Deakins. I just want to throw him in whatever project I ever do.
Exactly. He's just there.
Yeah.
So we are going to do the story of Esther. And so what's going to happen is we are going to, first of all, kind of rehearse the story of Esther so that we have it fresh in our minds. And then we are going to talk about who we would pick as a director for the film adaptation of the story of Esther. And then we will talk about the different characters in the story and who we would cast in their roles. So me and Elijah have both given a little bit of thought to this, jotted down some ideas about who we would want to direct and star in this film. And so we're going to bounce our ideas off of each other and see if we can come up with the perfect casting of Esther. And then if you like our casting of Esther, give us some money.
Please.
We won't make the film. We just want money.
Or whoever we choose to direct it,
please make it. Hire it. Yeah, please. we just want this thing to exist. So, Story of Esther. How does it start?
The Story of Esther starts with the people of Israel, obviously, are found in exile. This is when they're in Persia under King Ahasuerus. And it opens with Ahasuerus in his court. And he's looking to have his queen come into his court for all of his peoples after some political successes.
Big party feast.
Yeah. And so he's had a lot of merriment. And he's like, I'm going to show off my wife to everyone. Queen Vashti, I think is her name. And she doesn't want to come. She doesn't want to come down.
Not coming down, King.
And
Not today.
yeah, so it already starts off on kind of a comical foot. And then the king, enraged, decides that he needs to find himself a new wife because she won't listen to him and has publicly embarrassed him in front of all of the who's who of his empire, which is quite large. From India to, was it India to... Is it?
Yes, no, it lists it.
Yeah, it does.
In there later.
Anyway, India to the Middle East.
Yeah,
up to Greece, basically.
Ethiopia.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
There
India
you
to Ethiopia. So huge empire.
swath.
Yeah.
So it leads to a large casting list of actors, and I guess that's, I don't know. Do you want to like go through this piecemeal, like where we?
Let's just go
Just
ahead.
go through the whole story, and then
the whole story.
we'll
So
go
then,
through it.
So then
Okay.
from there, and not only does he say that Queen Vashti,
Yeah.
He's gonna get a new queen.
Yeah.
He like makes a law with the strongest possible, like it cannot ever be rewritten.
Mm-hmm.
You're never gonna come back in here.
Yeah.
Kicks her out
You're never allowed in my court.
because he asks his provincial rulers, like, what should I do about this? And they say, listen, if all of the women in the empire realize that Queen Vashti did this and you don't punish her, then they're all going to rise up and we can't have a rising up of women.
No,
and
my
so
wife
they're
is
gonna
gonna
stomp this thing out.
Gonna start wearing the robe in the family.
Exactly.
They're not wearing
She's going to
pants.
steal the crown.
Yeah.
And so then he makes this law, and he, after a little while, is like, I need a new queen.
Yep.
And so then he gets his, there's a guy named,
Yeah.
where's the
I don't
name
know.
of
He's
him?
an elder of sorts. Starts with an M.
Memucan?
Memucan, yeah.
Memucan. That's
I
a
don't
really
remember.
interesting
Did they
name.
say where he's from? Or is it just Memucan?
It probably does.
I don't know. He's somewhere
Anyway.
somewhere in the Persian Empire he has come
Yeah,
from.
so he's going to assemble people.
It
women.
sounds like he's been around for a while for other
Yeah, let me
kings too.
see. Yeah. And so anyway, this Hegai is the name of the eunuch, of the king's eunuch.
Mm-hmm.
And Hegai is going to gather together this harem of young women, and he gives them 6 months to get ready for their presence before the king, because they're coming from all sorts of different situations, and they're going to be ready to be royalty.
Mm-hmm.
And then one by one, they're going to have nights with the king,
Mm-hmm.
and the king's finally going to decide, here's the one I want to be my queen.
Yep.
He's going to choose her, and then now he's got his queen back.
Mm-hmm.
One of the young ladies that gets swept up into this harem is named Esther.
Yep.
She
At the
is
behest of
one-
Mordecai.
Yes, she's one of the Jewish exiles,
Mm-hmm.
and her cousin, I believe it is.
Uncle.
I thought it was the son of an uncle.
I thought it was her uncle.
No, I'm pretty sure it's a cousin. Okay,
We'll
well,
see.
We'll look it up. I'll look it up
Either
while
way.
you carry the story
Yeah.
on. So Mordecai gets Esther into
Yeah.
this harem.
Yep. Says, do not say that you're a Jew. Do not say that you're not a Hebrew, I guess is the term at that point. Don't say that you're a Hebrew. And and it also seems that he has also hidden that he's also in the court of the king, one of like a lesser dignitaries under the king. So he kind of gets her pulled into this harem, and she gets prepared for this. And then meanwhile, Mordecai kind of goes on an adventure in protecting the king, and he finds two ruffians that were meant to kill the king.
Mm-hmm.
That deed was put into a book of remembrance for the king to peruse at his leisure. But it doesn't sound like the king necessarily knew that had happened.
No.
At that point.
Yeah.
And then the king raises up a servant from among his leaders, and that servant's name is Haman, the Amalekite. He's not a good dude to the people of Israel, if you remember who the Amalekites are. Yeah, they're the people, one of the people groups who attacked Israel while they were in the wilderness. Also, they show back up in Samuel when Saul was told to kill King Agag, and he didn't. And then Samuel had to do the business for him.
Yeah.
So this whole time they've always sought after the destruction of Israel. So this is not good news for the people of Israel. At this point in the story, people of Israel would start spitting because this was a popular reading during the festival of Purim
So he's coming up. So this is the enemy of the Jews now ascending to some kind of power
over
one of
Mordecai.
the things. Yeah. So he's one of the guys who's above Mordecai,
Mm-hmm.
and he walks into the court,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone gives
Must
deference
bow.
to this dude. So they bow to him They're dropping to their feet, and Mordecai just sits there. He's not going to bow to this guy
right
at all.
on by.
He acts like he doesn't exist.
Yep.
And Haman does not like that. He is livid. He is petty, and he is all about. And then he finds out this guy's a Jew, and it just enrages him so badly that he wants to. He doesn't just want to kill Mordecai. He's like, no, we're not just going to kill him. We're going to kill all Jews.
Yep.
They're
They're responsible for the killing of most of his people.
And so he's going to wipe him out. So this is a family feud going back generations.
So many generations.
And so then he concocts his plan to kill everybody, and he gets this edict signed that on this one given day that they can wipe out and annihilate the Jews. So that all the Hebrew people,
because they're lawless, they're not listening to the king.
Yeah, they're just a real blight.
Well, he doesn't even.
Blight on
I don't
society.
even think he says that they're like. He doesn't name the people. He says, oh, there's this people that are doing this thing, and he says, well, here's my ring. Go make this a law, basically. And
so he goes and he makes it a law, and the Jews now are in trouble. Mordecai finds out about this. He sends word to Esther.
Or sackcloth.
Yeah. And so Esther sends word to him to see what's going on. She finds out that this is happening. And Mordecai begs her to go into the king and to ask for the king to override this rule. And so she's afraid of it. She doesn't, because when you go in before the king, and King, how do you say his name?
Ahasuerus. Or you can just say, I would just say Xerxes, because that's his Greek name that most people know him.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
he's famous for other things in history.
Okay. So King Xerxes is, when you come into his court, if he doesn't want you there, you die. There's a set of gallows that he just hangs people on just because you came into his court at the wrong time.
A horrible version of Emperor's New Groove.
Right.
You ruined my groove! And he throws you out the window onto the gallows.
It's pretty much exactly what happens. And so if she goes in there and ruins his groove, then this is going to be bad news for him.
Yep.
Or for her and for the Jewish people.
Yep.
And so she is not too keen on doing it, but she commits to doing it. And Mordecai convinces her, says, maybe this is the exact reason why you've been brought up to this position.
Yep.
And so you've got it. It's all on you. And she decides to do it. She says, we're going to fast for 3 days. And she asks him to do the same. So her and her young women who are attending her all fast. He fasts. After the end of 3 days, she goes in, and there's a sign that the king raises a scepter to them, and she would come and touch the scepter, and that's a sign that I've allowed you to be in my court. And, the drama happens. She walks in. The king sees her, is really pleased with her, and brings her in. He doesn't kill her. He says, what do you want? She says, how about you come to a meal with me?
Yep. I'm preparing a feast, a dinner.
And I'll tell you then.
Yeah.
and bring Haman with you. And Haman, meanwhile,
so excited,
is stoked.
He's like, the queen asked for me.
Of all the people in the realm.
Yeah, goes home, tells his wife.
Asks for me. Yeah, exactly. It's great.
And she's like, oh my gosh, this is a great thing. He's like, but gosh dang it, Mordecai is so terrible.
I just can't even stand that guy.
Yeah.
I can't be happy because Mordecai's still alive.
Yep.
So he goes to this feast.
I think there's a little bit in between.
Oh yeah, hang on. Go. Yeah. Fill in the gap there. There is a.
And
happening.
So before that,
before this feast, the king is up at night or something like that.
Yeah, he's up late and he's reading the book of remembrance, and he sees, oh my goodness, this Mordecai guy, he saved my life, and I have to show the people that I care about my people that serve me. And so he comes the next morning. He's sitting in his court, and nobody's gotten there. But of course, Haman, he's there bright and early. And so Xerxes is like, is there anyone in my court who I can call upon? And Haman's like, I'm here. And he's like, okay, great. Well, Mordecai's about to get here. And what I want you to do is to throw him on a chariot, throw a robe on him.
Before he says this, he says, what would you do for the man that the king delights to honor? And Mordecai's like, he's talking about me.
Yeah. This is what I want.
He's like, okay, I've got an idea. You put your royal robe on him that you've wore before, and you put him on your best horse, and you get someone who you really like to parade him around town and just show him off to the people and say, this is what happens to the man who the king wants to honor.
Yep.
And Haman is just like, this is going to be so nice. He's picturing himself on top of this horse with the king's robe. And the king is like, great idea. You go do that to Mordecai because he saved me from a plot that I didn't know was. And of course,
you can just see Haman's face.
Just drops.
Just keeping the smile, but dying on the inside.
And so then he's walking around town. This is what happens to the man who the king wants to honor. And it's a great scene.
I just love it if he's just riding, like trying to get through it as fast as possible, and like people keep stopping him, so he has to like keep going, and like it slows him down. So he's just
really long,
raking it in.
Yeah. So then he ends up going to this banquet though, but he is so vexed he can hardly enjoy
and
it.
Prior to that, he talks to his wife. He's like, I want to kill Mordecai.
Yes, okay.
This is one of the best parts.
We obviously don't know this story well enough to really pitch it, but then they're like, hey, how about you build a gallows
50 cubits high?
Like, this is massively high. We're talking
so big.
It's like 3 or 4 stories. I mean, it's huge. So
isn't it made of gold too? It's like a gold gallows.
I don't remember.
Something.
But everyone's gonna see it. Like, this is an epic gallows. This is not like the king gallows. This is made. This is
Haman's gallows.
Yeah,
named after him because of his greatness.
So then
I want a plaque that says Haman's gallows right below it.
And so then he goes to this banquet.
Yeah,
and at the banquet, the king asks, "Hey, what do you want? You know, I told you I'd give you whatever you want, up to half my kingdom. What is it that you want?"
Goodness.
And she says, "Listen, you've signed this order that these people are going to get killed. I am one of those people. And someone has tricked, like basically, we are being annihilated for no reason." And he says, "Who is this wicked man? Who would do such a thing?" And she points her finger at the man who she's brought to dinner, and he's just like, the king rushes out. Xerxes is storming
I like how
around.
he just leaves the room.
He's like just storming around, and Haman is just now. He knows his life is hanging by a thread,
weeping at Esther's feet,
and so he falls to Esther's feet and is begging for her to reverse this whole thing. Well, then the king, in not a good frame of mind, comes into the room, and he sees Haman kind of clutching at Esther, trying to beg her to, get over this thing. And the king just is willing to immediately assume the worst. And
you assault my queen?
Yeah. And so he's like, out of here. And they kill this man. And they say, well, he's got this big gallows set up.
How should we kill him? And they're like, well, he just built the... It's kind of crazy.
But there is this massive gallows out there. I think we could.
You can see it through the window of the palace.
There, put him there.
I'd love if you framed him like he's sitting there. He's just enjoying his food, and there's the gallows right behind his head.
That is such a good frame.
Anyway,
oh man. So then, okay. So let's finish the story. But it's just giving me an idea there that. Anyway, so then there's no way that the king can change this. This is a law that's baked into everything. He cannot undo it. But he gives Mordecai his signet ring and says, "Go fix this." And Mordecai pronounces an edict that the Jewish people can defend themselves against their enemies that day.
Yep.
And then, sure enough, it happens. And that day in the palace, or in the palace city,
it's across the empire.
500. Well,
just what happens. Yeah,
but like 500 people die. Are killed there of the Jewish enemies, but all across the empire. I mean, all these people who hate the Jews that are now attacking them are being killed because the Jews have banded together and they're like on the defensive. They've got strongholds and they're ready to fight.
Yeah.
And so then they extend it to one more day too. And so the enemies, in retaliation, I imagine I don't know for sure. I have to study it, but I imagine it's like fear of reprisal that, okay, they just, kicked our butts. So we're going to come back after them.
Yeah, because the king's law only lasts a day.
Yeah, and so they're going to do it anyway because it doesn't matter what the king's law says. We're mad at you, and so Mordecai extends the defense.
Like Esther asked for the
defense law to 1 day. Yeah, and so then they do it, and sure enough, it happens, and more of the enemies of the Israelites are killed, and then they have this massive celebration that's commemorating the event, and that's basically the story in a very big nutshell. We've taken a little bit of time. What you just said,
it's a great
gave
story.
Me the idea that, like you mentioning the Emperor's New Groove earlier, made me think that this would be a fantastic Emperor's New Groove animated film.
Oh my gosh,
that could have a lot of fantastic humor.
That would be pretty hilarious.
I hadn't thought about that, but thinking about it now,
I think if you did this,
be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I think that's basically
so that's the story.
Mordecai gets lifted up to where Haman was.
Where do you want to start? What do you want to? What are you most excited about?
So you want to start with directors?
Sure.
All right. Coen brothers. straight up.
Dude, Coen Brothers would be so fun.
I was thinking Wes Anderson, but it's too quirky, too funny. Coen Brothers, because they have this dark edge to them. Because this is the funniest book in the Bible, but there's a lot of humor in horrible situations, from an audience perspective. And so they can really play off the like something bad's happening, and yet there's still humor and there's still irony. They're really good with irony, I guess is the term.
Yeah.
And they're also Jewish filmmakers, and in the past they've made a couple films, like even in what's it called? Hail Caesar. I appreciate their little scene there.
Yes.
But I think that they would do a great job with just
that's a great pick.
Just pulling in a good amount of actors and just handling the source material pretty well.
So I'm torn between two, and I actually wouldn't go in the comedic route. I'd go in the more heavily dramatic route. So either Denis Villeneuve, to make it like a biblical epic, more like that, or if I'm going to go in the more, and this would I think fit the story better, is like Darren Aronofsky. So he did the movie Noah, and so he's another Jewish guy, someone who's deeply steeped in Jewish history, and I think he would. I don't know that I would love where he goes with the film, but his style and sensibilities would be the kind of thing that I think would make the film really interesting.
So
those are my
because
ideas.
If you were to hear my cast list on top of it with the Coen Brothers, it's a very comedic cast list.
Are you pulling Coen Brothers casting?
Coen and some Wes Anderson. Like it's for me, like
so
I
who's
went
Esther? Start with Esther.
So with Esther, I went with Ana de Armas for Esther.
Interesting, because I have her as one of my backups, like one of the people I would.
Yeah, I figured because she's got to be pretty young as Esther, and that cuts down a lot of actors. Like you'd have to pick somebody new or somebody that's just kind of came out into the acting scene.
Ana de Armas is my number 2, but my number 1 actually came from my wife. Yeah, and it's Millie Bobby Brown.
Interesting,
like Stranger Things fame. Like she
actually would do a good job.
Like, have you watched Enola Holmes? She played the younger sister of Sherlock and Mycroft. Yeah, and it was a really interesting, more feminist film than I would like. Yeah, but it was a lot of fun. Like it was a fun film
for sure.
And she just did so good in that, and I think she would make a good.
Man,
a good queen, because she's got that ability to go from being like high fashion and like really lady, like a real presence as a lady, and be the kind of like maid girl that's pulled from the random part of the empire to come up into the king's court. Yeah, right. Like so she could play both the grungy maid and the high class lady. So definitely, that's what I would do. And in the dramatic world, going from a dramatic approach, that would be more appropriate, I guess.
I think that would be good.
So who else are you excited about? Who's your king?
Who's my king? Dev Patel.
Patel, interesting.
Xerxes.
That would be fun.
Xerxes. So this is the same Xerxes from the battle, like the Greek campaign against Thermopylae. This is the same king.
Okay.
Yeah. So like he has to be somebody that's like relatively like well fit and like can appear as somebody who's come back from like a war.
Yeah.
And I figured he's definitely got the chops to go kind of. Like all my actors can do like a serious, but like still kind of pivot into a comedic role. But yeah, so Dev Patel for Xerxes. I was between him and Oscar Isaacs for Xerxes, but I had him as Mordecai. Oscar Isaacs.
Do you really?
Yeah,
I have Oscar Isaac as Mordecai as well.
There we go. Consensus.
Boom. He's hired.
Yeah.
By the way, Mordecai is here. Let me read what the scriptures say. And let you decide for yourself whether he's the cousin or the uncle.
Because I thought he was the brother to the dad, but maybe.
So let's read. Now there was a Jew in Susa in the citadel whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, son of Shimei, son of Kish, a Benjamite, who had been carried away from Jerusalem among the captives, carried away with Jeconiah, king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar had carried away. He was bringing up Hadassah, that is Esther, the daughter of his uncle, for she had neither father or mother.
Yeah. So there you go. Cousin. Yeah. But so Oscar Isaacs has the ability to be younger or older.
Yeah, and even in this age, like
he played Joseph
you could be
before.
You could have a pretty high age disparity even between cousins. You
Yeah,
know,
because they're big families.
You don't
and, like,
have to. You don't have to
yeah.
make it like feel like an uncle.
I just didn't want it to feel like a really old dude, which is what usually people do. Is
Yeah.
make him like really old.
Yes, right, exactly.
'Cause
That's how I've envisioned.
I wanted like a funnier, like brother sister esque relationship,
Yes,
but like he
exactly.
has to like pretend like he's a dad. But it's when it's like down and gritty, they're brother and sister.
Yeah.
It comes
That's
down
cool.
to it. Older brother, but
Who else do you have? What else do you have?
oh, I have.
Who's your Heyman? Like Heyman's another
So
character
Heyman
that
was
has to be a
hard.
good bad guy.
So I went between a couple people. I went with Jason Schwartzman as Heyman.
Okay.
Which is I got a picture of him.
Oh.
He's definitely a more comedic actor. He was
Mhm.
the bad guy in Scott Pilgrim.
Interesting.
He's just a colorful comedic. He'd really overact the Heyman role. But I figured that would be fitting. And I also went between him and Willem Dafoe. No, not Willem Dafoe, because I had him for somebody else. Between him and Adam Driver
Okay.
were the two I was going to. But I had other plans for Adam Driver.
I do too.
Yeah?
Do you really?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see where Adam Driver fits in.
Okay. He's not in this. He's not in the story per se, but he's a
Okay.
cameo.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
My Heyman is Andrew Scott.
Interesting.
So more of a
Moriarty? Is that
Yep,
Moriarty?
mhm.
Yeah.
So I'm from the dramatic perspective. I was thinking it has to be someone who can play a good villain, but
Mhm.
also can be pretty whiny
Mhm.
because he's a whiny dude. He's like
Yeah.
he's a petty villain. So
Yeah.
he has to be despicable that in his rage and with his power.
Like you
he
can see him
is
smiling
really-
and then like it just like
yeah, he's got to be very dangerous.
Yeah.
And feel like a villain.
Mhm.
But yet you see him, you don't fear him like with respect as like a
You don't think
powerful
you
villain.
feel like you could beat him up, but he's untouchable because of whatever
yeah.
is behind him.
And so I felt like he could pull that off.
Yeah. That's interesting.
My backup there was that Christoph Waltz would be interesting to see what he would do with.
Yeah. I
with a
like
Heyman
Christoph
character.
Waltz.
I don't know that he fits.
I don't know.
but I would love to see what that would
A
be.
Christoph Waltz-esque character would be pretty good.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah.
what did you have for Adam Driver? I'm really curious now. What was
so
what's your
the way
idea
I would
there?
do it is like I would open it with a cold cut, and then it would go for the history of the Israelites and the Amalekites.
Okay.
So you would see Moses and Joshua and how they would conflict,
Okay,
and it would be
yeah.
like a smash cut, like boom here, and it'd be kind of comedic. It'd be like,
Mhm.
oh, we're here, and then the Amalekites attack, and then they pray to God, and God destroys them. And same thing with Saul. It happens. Adam Driver. So before that, Moses was going to be play. I had Moses and Joshua and
Man,
Saul.
you just cast all of like the Old Testament.
I did. I was gonna have John Turturro play Moses.
Oh, I have John Turturro in
Really?
here too. Yeah,
And,
but he's a something else.
Alden Ehrenreich as Joshua, and even though they wouldn't be
Okay,
very big
yeah.
parts. And then I had
So you're gonna need a lot of money for these cameos.
I
man.
know Willem Dafoe as Samuel, and
Oh, that would be fun.
Adam Driver as Saul.
Oh, William Dafoe would be a great ghost of Samuel. Like,
Yeah.
can you imagine him playing
Just
the part
like
where
all,
the
like-
witch calls him back up? And says, what am I doing
Yeah.
here?
Well, I just pictured like because I wanted somebody that would have like the like zeal look when like they beheaded Agag, and the whole time it was going to be Jason Schwartzman as Haman. He's going to play the king of the Ammonites in every scene, so that way you
that's
get it and you
fantastic.
feel like
oh, that's a great idea.
that's why the Israelites hate him, and he's slimy in every scene,
yes.
and you're just like, oh,
Dude, that's genius. I love that
and
idea.
so it comes
Yeah.
into the court, and you just see him sitting there, and he's like, he's getting all puffed up and getting everything
man,
from the
that's awesome.
king.
I love that.
Ugh.
That would be so good.
But anyway, that's where I had Adam Driver.
That's
as
awesome.
Saul just kind of like coming back, and he's like, "You're not allowed to come back with this, this, and this," and you see him gold, and he's just like,
Okay.
"I got King Agag."
That'd be
And
awesome.
Sam was like, "What?"
So
Anyway.
I had Adam Driver in as the king's eunuch. Like, so I
Oh.
figured we needed some kind of character there, almost like Woody Harrelson's character in Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Who's like the
A nice advisor.
yeah, exactly. But kind of a little bit crazy, but yet a trusted advisor for the young women who are going in before the king.
Interesting.
Uh,
I had Camille
who else-
Nanjiani for the eunuch.
Yeah,
Yeah, the one. I think
I'm trying to picture that.
this guy.
Oh yeah,
Because he's comedic. Because I had a scene where like
That would be
Xerxes
really
was like,
funny.
"Where is she at?" And he's like, "Well, she's upstairs." Like he like goes up, and then you have like the cut back between the two, and he's like, "Go tell her to come down." And then it cuts
that would be
over, and
fantastic.
she's like, "I'm not coming
Who's
down."
Vashti then?
And then
Who is he?
I don't know who Vashti would be.
okay.
That was the one that I couldn't figure
See,
out.
since I'm going dramatic, like, man, I'd be really interested to see who Vashti would be in a comedic way, because that could be a really fun character.
Yeah.
But going dramatic, I was thinking like either Emily Blunt or Rebecca Ferguson. Like,
Yeah,
you
I can
know,
see that. Kind of a regal. Like they
Yeah,
both played
regal
queens
women.
before.
but who would be the kind of woman you'd be like, yeah, she's gonna say no.
Yeah.
she's totally gonna
Yeah.
just reject the king. Who's the king? Did we talk about king?
Yeah.
we did.
Who did you have as king?
I had Tom Hardy
Ooh, interesting. I think that's a good. That's a good.
because I didn't want someone. Well, just because sensibility wise,
Mhm.
he's probably older.
Yeah.
So it's like it'd be weird an old king and the young girl anyway.
Well, he's come back from a failed campaign in Greece, basically.
So you have to have
has to have been over there for like at least a while.
yeah. So you've got to have like it's going to be odd anyway. He's
Mhm.
marrying this girl,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to have someone who can play across from a young lady
Yeah.
in a way that would be convincing. That
Not
like
creepy.
yeah exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so I don't have anyone else, but I have some other characters that I would be interested to know if
Yeah.
you've. So your pair of traders,
Oh, the pair of traders.
because I think they could be a real fun.
I
duo.
was figuring since it's the Coen brothers, they would just throw somebody like
So that's where I thought
Somebody
that
Coen brother in there.
Totoro and Tim Blake Nelson from
Interesting.
like a Brother Where Art
Yeah.
Thou, like
They'd be pretty
their
funny.
chemistry would be really funny as
just
like
a couple idiot assassins.
yeah. Oh, it'd be. I think that'd be a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
then somehow Mordecai thwarts their plans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be fun. And then let me see. There's like another place that I think you could have some fun with casting would be the court discussion about what to do about Vashti. Like you've got a bunch of princes in there,
Interesting, yeah.
and that could that would be an interesting, either making it very tense and dramatic and political, or making it just like a big goofball scene.
I would do like a wide shot where you can't really see their faces, and you just see the king's perspective, and it's just like a bunch of people yelling from like the tables, like I think we should do this. But then you could have star cameos, like whoever you want. in there, like,
Just throw them in.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. So anything else you've thought of for this? So you've obviously thought of an opening
mhm.
for the movie of how you'd come together. Any other ideas or thoughts on like overall style or?
I just
things like
thought
that?
following kind of more of the quirky bent, it would be pretty well done. I think the part where I was struggling is just kind of finding Esther in the story, because it's the book of Esther, and so I didn't really develop too much in my head as to how to do all of that, other than doing like maybe like a smash cut, like Mordecai going, "This is what we're gonna do," and it's like a heist scene where he's like,
Yeah.
like
Okay.
like you'd see in like King Arthur or whatever, where he's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
"This
more
is what
Guy
we're gonna
Ritchie
do."
Style. Yeah.
Yeah, and then or however they go back and forth, and they're like, no, we're not gonna do that, and
Yeah.
then it ends with like whoever getting killed or something, and he's
Uh-huh.
like, there we go, let's do this, and then
Yeah.
they go into the scene or whatever. But yeah,
See, I took way more of a traditional like classic epic type
Mhm.
approach where it'd be drama and cranking up the tension, because while it is a comedic,
yeah.
while there is a
There's
comedic
real
undertone,
stakes.
right?
Yeah.
Like the drama of the story unfolds so tightly, right? Like
Mhm.
so even in the way that the Bible unfolds a story,
Yeah.
you hear like you've got the Vashti is never coming back in here. Here's my ring. Boom, it's done.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a perfect setup, because then when it comes time and he's like, yeah, Haman, have my ring, and Haman goes boom, then suddenly this thing isn't like
Mm-hmm.
the Jews are dead.
Yeah.
And then also Mordecai thwarts the plan of the king or of the traitors to the king, and they're hung immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Xerxes is a man of action.
and Xerxes is killing anyone who comes to his court that doesn't he doesn't like. And so it's like the stakes are really high.
Yeah.
And so the moment of Esther going into the king,
Mm-hmm.
the moment of the banquet, right? All of that, like in spite of the comedic element, like there's
Yeah.
a heavy
Yeah.
sense under it of like our death, our people's annihilation is
Yeah.
at stake, like
Yeah.
literally. And so like I would love to see that kind of tension just ratchet throughout the movie,
Mm-hmm.
and then just watch. Like I think the comedy is inherent in the way that things fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
That it falls apart for the reason that things always fall apart.
Yeah.
Men are petty,
Yep.
and men are stupid.
Yep.
And they're, because of his pettiness and
Mhm.
because of his drive for what he wanted, he finds himself totally reversed, having to praise Mordecai and then hanging on the gallows that he made for him. And it's just so beautifully ironic that it's such a good story.
Even
So-
Edgar Wright. I'm sorry, I'm still on the quirky, but yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Edgar Wright doing it,
That
like
could
just
be really fun.
doing the slow motion, and then there's like a shadow of like a. I'm sorry, that
Yes.
visual
that
is
would
just
be
sticking with me.
Fantastic. That would be awesome. Oh, dude, it could be a musical.
It could be.
I would be very interested to see
I mean,
Esther the musical done by like Lin-Manuel Miranda.
that would be
That
pretty
would
good.
be pretty
I think
fun.
what's interesting is what you got going for you is like whenever it was told at the festival of Purim, the festival of lots, to like the people of Israel, and like I think you could also do it like as somebody like telling the story. I'm careful to do that because it can be really exposition heavy.
Yeah, right.
But like if you intercut it with like a person telling, like that's how I would open and close it, was just like this is what had happened, and then it goes through
Yeah,
the stuff,
that would
and
be
then
pretty cool.
you do the cold open, you hit Esther, and then it's like papa, and then it goes into like her
The
story.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Hmm.
Um
That'd be fun.
and in that, like, I don't know. Yeah. I think it's just a great, obviously it's a great story.
Yeah,
and
it's a
you
good one.
can go either way with it. Like it really, there are, like you're saying, there's comedic aspects, but there's definitely like that edge of, you don't want to lose that edge of it being kind of a darker.
I think that's why the Coen brothers would be such a good pick,
Yeah.
though, because they do know how to like walk that balance.
just
Well,
watch
I
the
mean, they
Ballad
don't
of
even
Buster
watch-
Scruggs.
Yeah, they
like,
don't exactly walk the balance. They like totally
they go
straddle the fence on like they're falling off on either end. Yeah, that'd be good.
like,
So
because I mean, if you watch the one where like the guy gets like where he gets replaced by the chicken,
Mhm.
like that's like it makes you laugh when he like looks at him and he kind of goes, like he throws the boulder
Yes.
off and he looks at him, you're like, huh, you're like, oh my gosh, that's so terrible, like. And then it's just the chicken in the back, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, that's so
Yeah.
bad." But he made me laugh. Like it's the same reason why, like the
Right.
Joker. Like, have you seen the Joker?
No.
Anyway, in the Joker, there's like maybe 3 parts in the movie that make you laugh, but you feel horrible for laughing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But just because they're like ironic, and it's just kind of like, oh, that's really awkward.
Yeah.
But like it plays on that, like this is awkward and ironic that this happened.
Mm-hmm.
But I think
Yeah.
that would play in the story. Like he's talking, like it doesn't say that he kills Queen Vashti or anything. I would assume that he probably did.
Yeah. Or she was at the edges of the empire by the
Yeah, she was thrown back to, which it sounds like an Indian name or Pakistani name, so she's probably thrown to the other end of the empire.
Yeah.
But I thought it'd be funny if like they're sitting there, and it's a very Coen brother thing, but like they're sitting there, he's talking with Kumail Nanjiani, and they're like, what are we gonna do? Like, what are we gonna do about this? And we're gonna create this law, and we're gonna do this. And you hear people fighting upstairs, and you hear Queen Vashti and everything, and then you just see her out the window, and he's like, I need to find a new queen. He's like, you need to find a new queen. like he's very serious, but like this thing just happened.
It's like very matter of fact.
Yeah.
Here's what's happening.
like the king doesn't like that's the scary part of the king. Like he's seen so much death and so many crazy things
Yeah.
that it just doesn't even faze him that
Mhm.
he just commanded this thing to happen.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it happened.
Yeah.
He's getting a new queen. So like that's
And
what
then and you just watch him killing people throughout the story.
Yeah,
Like
just-
just I don't like you. Like you brought a cucumber into my court.
yeah,
But,
and you can keep
Yeah.
keep cutting to that of like
Yeah.
just randomly whenever you walk in, it's just another person, like another reason why somebody gets hung.
Yeah. Right.
But-
Yep. That'd be
Yeah.
cool.
I mean, Xerxes, like historically, one of the funny things that happens with him is in Greece, he was crossing a river, and the river wasn't like behaving because he's trying to build a bridge across the river. And so he has all of his people to punish the river, whip the river into submission. He's just not,
Man.
he's not all
He's
there.
a crazy guy.
He's eccentric
Yeah.
for sure, at the least.
That's amazing.
But yeah, it's
He
kind
would,
of
yeah,
interesting.
that'd be a fun movie character. Well, there we go. We've cast and got everything set up for
That's
a movie about Esther. So someone needs to write it. Someone needs to sign on to produce this thing and get a director on board.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So go do it, folks. What are you waiting for? But while you do that, we're going to hang out here at the farmhouse
Mhm.
and keep watching the new movies that are made.
Just
And we'll
gonna
watch
chill.
the news and see
Mhm.
if we see whisperings about the new Esther story coming out.
There's been a couple. They haven't been good.
It's because they weren't directed by the Coen brothers.
Yeah, I know. Although there was one, the Book of Esther, which was one of the cheesy ones where like one of the guys from For King and Country plays Xerxes, and it's not very well done. But the Haman interplay with his wife was pretty hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Like they got the irony right, which is pretty
good.
hilarious. But
Nice.
anyway,
Yeah. Well, we will be here at the farmhouse hanging out,
Yeah.
watching movies, talking about movies, and we are going to be here again next week. So be sure to tune in to the podcast. If you have ideas for future shows, or if you have Bible stories that you want us to cast next time
yes,
when we
indeed.
cast a story, then let us know, and we will tee that up for you. You can let us know at podcast@foxfirefarmhouse.com. Send me an email, podcast@foxfirefarmhouse.com, and we will get your ideas
Please send us
queued up and ready to go for a future
Stuff.
episode. Have any
Yes.
comments, questions, things like that. Send them on in.
concerns.
If you want to send us
What are you concerned
pets.
Yeah.
My kids would love a dog.
about?
Don't send me a dog, please.
Don't.
Send
Pizza,
it to Elijah.
food. I'll take food,
We'll take pizza.
not poison.
Deliver it. Domino's coupons to
Yeah.
podcast at
There you go.
foxfirefarmhouse.com.
One of these days, we'll just be sitting here eating pizza. We'll eat it on the podcast if you send it.
Yeah, if you send it, we will have
If you somehow get the
pizza.
address.
It's going to be great.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Well, until next time, we hope you all enjoy watching some movies,
Yeah.
enjoying some stories, and we'd love to hear from you, and we'll share more with you in future episodes. So thank you, and take care.